Hi, welcome to my channel and welcome to my world. I am so excited to have finally gotten started with these videos. My name is Jacqueline, and I created this channel to share my experiences and the lessons that I've learned from my experiences and the techniques that I have implemented in my life that has helped me create my world and a life that is peaceful and a life that is magical. So, today I want to start with loops because that is the first awareness that I was brought in that kind of shifted me. And I started seeing, I'm 57, by the way, and so I've had several experiences in relationships, 3 marriages. I have 4 children and a big family. So I started recognizing loops in the circumstances surrounding some of my relationships that were triggering me or igniting low vibration feelings, emotions. These are just a few here: fear, guilt, anger, self concept, um, feeling misunderstood, all of those things, those low vibration feelings and responses. So I started recognizing that, some of them seem to be reoccurring over and over again, since I was like 17. And so I became aware of them, and I started reading books. Eckhart Tolle, I've read a couple of his books, The Power of Now and Joe Dispenza. Becoming Supernatural was a great book. I listened to a lot of YouTube content to try to understand how to work on to go inward and work on myself. So in these loops, these emotional loops, they usually originate, or they always originate, because there's an unresolved pain. That pain can have come from your childhood. It could come from your very first romantic experience in high school or college. It could come from an interaction with your siblings and within the household, bullying at school. You know, there's a list of things where this circumstance that where this pain could have become or could have originated. All right, so you're in a relationship, and either a relationship with somebody at work, a family member. When I say relationship, I'm not just saying a romantic relationship, just any relationships that you're having with other human beings. And something they have done or said, or something that they didn't do or said, triggers something in you. It's a familiar feeling that this pain left you, and what you felt when you were enduring, when this pain was being created. So then that causes an emotion. And the emotion is usually always a low vibration emotion, any of these down here and others. And then that emotion causes a reaction. And again, a low vibration reaction. And then that reaction causes an outcome, always a negative outcome, when you're inside one of these pain loops and you are showing up with this state of mind. It is always a negative outcome. When the way to break this loop is to be first aware of it. Once you're aware of it, you can pause and go inward. Sometimes if you're in the moment, you can't go inward in the moment that it's happening, but just the pause itself really helps you from having this negative reaction. And you can always go back when you step away from it and go inward. So sometimes this step here is not always does not always happen in the moment. This one can happen in the moment. So you pause, and then you have a different response, and you could you could just say, hey, let me step back from this. Can you give me a minute? Or let me call you back. Whatever. Just pause. Make a pause. If you have time to go inward and then choose your response, that's good too. So this is just a very brief description of what a loop looks like and what's it called, where it's created from. And you can have, by the way, different pains that have a different loop. And so you can have, several loops that you're experiencing until you resolve that particular pain, and then that goes away. Sometimes you think you've resolved the pain kind of on a surface level because you've become aware of it. But if another situation occurs, maybe 6 months later, a year later, and you're still being triggered, that's because your central nervous system knows the pain is still there, and it's putting you through this experience again for you to go in deeper and deal with it. When that is no longer an unresolved pain, you will not have these triggers anymore. Doesn't mean you're not going to have these people coming into your life that still create a situation that reminds you of it, but you're not reacting the same anymore. Okay, so how do you get from one point to the other point, especially if you think you've already resolved it? It's your perception. Sometimes you need to go in and look at your perception of the problem, because your shadows, your ego is really good at masking the pain and the trigger. And so let me give you some examples. Well, first of all, no, okay, so let me give you some examples of the masking. So if somebody is making you feel like you don't have a voice, or you're with a boyfriend that is, when you express a feeling, or girlfriend, and you express a feeling, and then 2 days later something happens and it appears that they have just dismissed your feeling on it, and it ignites a strong response in you. The perception is they are not valuing you. The perception is they are not giving you a voice. If you go inward and realize that you are not valuing yourself somewhere, and you are not having your own voice, and there can be many reasons why you're not doing it. It could be you want to save you want to hold, you think you're holding the peace. You think that you're maybe overreacting. But either way, finding and recognizing that your perception of reality is untrue. That's the key. And it's very hard. It is very hard to go inward and admit to yourself that they're not the problem, it's you. You are not valuing yourself enough to give your own voice. You don't think that maybe you're enough, and so you don't feel like your voice has any value. I don't really know what your particular situation is, in your loop, but I just really wanted to bring you into the awareness of the perception. And sometimes you think that they're the problem, and this is just going to keep happening over and over again. So I guess I shouldn't say sometimes. If your perception is that they're the problem, the loop is going to keep happening over and over again. So the inward work. When you go in, you have to be really honest with yourself and ask yourself, why are you feeling these emotions? And usually that's where the key to the answer is. So sometimes you ask yourself, what if I'm lying to myself? Or somebody says you're lying to yourself. One of the key ways to recognize if you are lying to yourself is you will keep repeating what caused the trigger. Like you'll keep repeating the scene in your head. You go over and over again in your head, what they said, what you said, and how you were wronged. You wake up in the morning with a low vibration feeling. You go through your day um, in that repetitive thought that you were being wronged. When you have resolved the pain, you know you're not lying to yourself when you feel a peace. You're not needing to rehearse it over and over in your head. You're not needing to um, plan out the next move, the next conversation, what you're going to say to them, how you're going to prove uh, your position. All of that just goes away. When you stop lying to yourself, there's a peace. I hope some of this has resonated with some of you. If not, I hope you've at least enjoyed the view. I know it's getting late and it's dark, and that's just because I've been too picky about editing this video. Stop, restart, stop, restart. Anyway, thank you if you stayed this long, and I hope to see you on the next one. Ciao.